That's you guys. Yeah. So by having this multifaceted head, it's more likely to be able to convey the energy of the blow to the occupant, and that's actually what makes it hurty, and that's why it's a meat tenderizer. A very scary bit of kit, and one way you can use it is to try to either concuss your opponent. Can you think of anywhere you would hit an opponent to concuss him? Maybe, on the head. Yes, that would do it. Now, Pollaxe, indeed, he would have been... Well, another thing you can do is to strike those smaller, thinner, weaker plates. By striking those, we might be able to bend or buckle the armour. If it locks up, it's less likely to be able to move more freely. Your opponent can't move as readily, he can't defend himself, and you can bring in the big blows more readily. So by bending or buckling the armour, we can restrict his movement. Also, if we land a good enough blow on one of those weak plates, it's quite likely that it's going to break a bone. So now he's going to have a bone that has been broken by a big nasty metal hammer and a bit of jaggedy metal poking at the break all the time. And well, that might slow you down a little bit. Andreas, on the other hand, feels no pain because he's German, he's immune to all that sort of thing, has had it surgically removed, and it wouldn't slow him down even a little bit. Whoa. No. There are other things that would, but that's another story. So that's one aspect of the weapon. The other is the curved axe, on the other hand, a very English style. That axe is great, but again, if we go back to those curved surfaces of the armour, it's designed to deflect blows from that axe. That's what the armour's for, that's why we're wearing it. If it didn't work, you wouldn't wear it. But then again, if the axe didn't work, you wouldn't carry it. So, where are you going to aim with that axe? Well, again, there's not much point in aiming for the big bits of metal. You can. It might work. But it's more likely that you're going to aim for those bits where the armour isn't. For example, that would do it. That would slow me down. I don't know about any of it. That would slow you down. Yes. But also, that being an obvious target, you might be able to head for the backs of the knees. If Andreas turns himself around as well, we can see there's a good target. Look right there. Oh, lovely. Kerchop-a-roo. Yeah? And that would even slow you. That would stop you at there. Having your head removed would slow you down. Come on. I know it wouldn't hurt, you wouldn't stop, but it would slow you down. You could get another one, yeah. Run around like it. Hey! That's when we get back to Ridley Scott. So, that's one way. There's different styles we can use. So, I mean, guys, do you want to have a quick go? And we can look now, try and see if you can, the different parts of the weapon they're using. A good exponent of this weapon knows exactly which way round it is in his hand, so it's not coincidence that he hits with the hammer or the axe. You'll know exactly which way around it is, and also sometimes using the cue to wrap up, try your opponent. Right, now, we have learned our Pollaxe. Genius, absolute pair of genii. Is that the plural of geniuses? No, geniuses. I much prefer that. Geniuses. It's a borrowed language. So, very good on the Pollaxe. But now that we've got the hang of that weapon, we're going to start moving on to more difficult weapons. Remember, this is a system, not individual weapons thought of on their own. So the next one we would go to is the two-handed sword. We're going to take a little bit of a leap and move instead to one that's slightly smaller called the hand-and-a-half sword. So gentlemen, if you would like to swap weapons. This is a hand-and-a-half sword, so called because it's not big enough quite for two hands on the grip, but it is big enough for a hand and a half. Bonkers name. It also has another name which implies that its parentage may not be A1. Yes, like a parchment sword. Yes. Don't! That's the one. Thank you. It does not mean anything. So yes, the sword. This weapon, superficially, may not look like it has anything to do with the Pollaxe. It's entirely dissimilar. What could possibly be the similarity between these two bits of kit? Well, held this way round, not really that much. But if we invert the weapons to hold in the same way that we may hold a Pollaxe, suddenly we see a certain similarity. So now we can use, for example, the quillen, the cross guard here, to be used in the same way that we use a hammer or the axe to strike and try to buckle those plates, hurt your opponent very much. We can also use the pommel here to strike up into the face like we were using the dag before. So that pommel, we have lots of techniques we can apply to it. The quillen, we have lots of techniques we can apply. By holding it this way as well, we can use a technique called half sword, which you can see is very similar to the way we hold the Pollaxe. But now we're using it in such a way that enables us to have more control over this very long blade. To aim accurately with that long blade is difficult, but by holding the blade further down, we've effectively shortened the range of that blade, which makes it much more accurate. So we're going to use that half sword technique in the same way that we would use the Q on the Pollaxe, more or less thusly. Off you go, boys, have a quick So that system works very well, but now we have another set of techniques that are using just the double cutting edge of that blade. So now we have all the techniques that we had for the Pollaxe that we learned earlier, but now we are faster, more skilled, and we are now closer to one another, so the margin is smaller for error. But we now have another range of techniques using the edge of the weapon. So gentlemen, I have this chimney on myself. Gentlemen. Now the last section which you saw beginning to emerge there, which we shan't discuss now, it's for another day, but the last part you saw beginning to emerge is grappling. Once we have become very skilled, we'll eventually move to the dagger, to the short-bladed weapon, but in this instance, we would then move on to grappling. You may think that's unrelated to the Pollaxe, but if we think about my arm now being a Pollaxe, I'll be able to get it in and use exactly the same technique I was using with the Pollaxe, but now I'm not even using a weapon. So by using the system of weapons, which starts with a Pollaxe and works its way down to no weapon at all, you can see how complex a medieval fighting system can be and how far the is from the truth. So, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Our combatants. Well done, gentlemen.